Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum. My name is Citizen Strife, and this week we're going to talk about my second favorite anime of all time. My first I'd already done, Cowboy Bebop, and this follows much in the similar vein. This was released about 10 years after that, but it follows a very similar, darker, grittier tone. That show being Black Lagoon. And it's one of those things where this show has always had a place. It wasn't always like the most popular thing. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It's not going to be the biggest show. It's not going to be the best show. It's not going to be the most amazing show. But it ended up carving a niche as one of the more effective, just seedier crime drama shows. Crime drama, give or take, the idea was bounty hunting. Yes. But much in the same way as Bebop, this show focuses on people who are down and out, just trying to scrape by and make a living. And there is something to that. They are professional killers at the end of the day, or professional kidnappers, what have you. And they have to make a living somehow, and they have to do it by getting in bed with the wrong people in the wrong part of the world. The difference between this and Bebop is Bebop was set in a future world, still had some grittiness to it, but was focused on space. This was focused on 1990s Southeast Asia, a place known as Roanapur. But you had everything from a Chinese triad to a Russian military ops outfit, to Japanese Yakuza, Mexican drug cartels, you name it. And all of them converged in this one seedy place in the world where it's called Roanapur, the city where everyone dies. I think it's even... I remember they had, just to prove a point of what this place is, some places would have like a sign. Some places would have like their population symbol. Something would have like a cool saying or something. Roanapur had a guy hanging from a noose. So if that didn't tell you what you're in for when you're watching this show, then I don't know what to tell you. To live there, you have to be a certain caliber of person. And we come to find out that the reason that Black Lagoon works is that one of the main characters is a fish out of water thrust into this place with only his wits. And that character is Rock. And he is voiced by Brad Swale, or Swaley, I forget how he's pronounced. But Brad, I believe, was Light Yagami from Death Note, at least I'm pretty sure. Otherwise, he was in tons of other shows as a main character and just a higher-end voice actor for Viz. And he plays Rock as a Japanese salaryman, because that's what he was for 10 or 15 years. Just doesn't know what to do. He's just punching a clock, just making do, even though he hates it. Then he finds out he's basically been coerced by his bosses to do this kind of info dump or drug deal kind of thing, and he's stuck in Roanapur and has nowhere to go. So he ends up befriending the Lagoon Company, and boy, oh boy, what lovable people they are, because the main other character, and the one everybody kind of knows, is Revy, voiced by Merrick Hendricks. And I remember when I did Dot Hack Roots, I thought it was funny that she was playing Tabby, just the most lovable, bubbly personality you could think of, wouldn't hurt a fly. And now she is the most psychotic person on the planet. Revy is just deranged, foul-mouthed, and just angry and venomous at people. And when she does smile, she always has a tinge of psychosis and just has a tinge of just angst. And it gets sort of referenced, but they leave it vague enough until they have to. I think in the movie version, the Roberta's Blood Trail, they do show that she was raped as a teenager. Not great. But that's not enough. Stuff about Revy is just think of the craziest person you can think of, give her some guns, and just set her free. But how do you control somebody that fucking insane? And again, you have this guy, this salaryman, who has a high intelligence and high wisdom for this seedy business that he finds himself in, but he's in trouble because he's dealing with Revy on a daily basis. So oil and water mixing together. So how do they coexist? Well, you have the Jet of the family. You have Dutch, voiced by Dean Redmond, who's just much like Jet, just this very stern, very matter-of-fact owner of this ship, and just doesn't take any bullshit. He kind of just lets people do their thing as long as they don't fuck up. And good enough for him is he's pretty damn good at his job to begin with. He's not as crazy as Revy, which is good because you have to have a level head in these situations, and he's a damn good negotiator. He tells people what to do and they do it because he is a big black man and he does not take shit from nobody. And more to the point, he gets insulted by neo-Nazis. He gives them shit for it and starts killing them. So yeah, he is the owner of the Lagoon Company, this small merry band of misfit thugs, and just has to make do. And they're also joined by Benny, who is voiced by Brian Drummond. His job is much like Ed's. And again, I'm paraphrasing most of the characters here, because Rock is not like Spike at all. But don't think of him as a one-to-one, but in the best case scenario, Benny is Radical Edward if he's a guy and just a normal dude caught in a phishing scam or some scandal or whatever, stuck in this situation, but he uses intelligence and use of computers. He knows how to just hack shit or, use tactical knowledge. So he just lets Revy and Dutch do all the dirty work. Rock can fill in some gaps, and they kind of work together as this good posse that shouldn't work. Japanese salaryman, crazy psychotic bitch with guns, gigantic black dude with a shotgun who gives out orders, and a pasty white dude in a Hawaiian shirt who loves computers. Just a perfect family. But it's not just them. You have other characters that are around too, but I'm not going to focus on all of them, but I'm going to focus on the two that are the main cruxes of this journey. Balalaika, voiced by Patricia Drake. I mentioned before that Roanapur is this den of just thieves and yakuza and triads and all this shit. One of the main one of the main cohorts that give the Lagoon Company most of their jobs is Hotel Moscow. It is revealed that they are a paramilitary outfit, basically PMCs with military backing. So a lot of yakuza and cartels are just kind of run-of-the-mill gangster dudes trying to put up a front. Balalaika doesn't take shit, and she even puts fear of God into Revy most of the time, which is a scary thought, because she's been burned. She will burn people. She will just maim people. She will stomp on their balls. She will just blow them to smithereens. Doesn't matter. She orders her men to do things, and they do things. They are Russian mad people, and they get shit done, and even most of the gangsters are scared of them, which is why they go to the Lagoon Company to get most of their shit done. So Lagoon Company has a sort of love it, hate it, well, mostly love because they don't want to die relationship with them, but they'll take jobs from the Chinese mobs. They'll take jobs from the cartel. And unfortunately for them, they ended up taking a job midway through season 1 where they're supposed to protect, I believe, a Colombian, not dignitary, but a dignitary's son. And unfortunately, the person who was protecting him was Roberta. That's all she's given. Her name is Roberta. And she is probably the best character in the show outside of Revy and Balalaika. Those three kind of make the crux of, oh my fucking Christ, when they're on screen, shit is bound to go wrong. And Roberta's whole thing is she's not who she says she is. She is a maid, but she has an umbrella that has a shotgun in it. Or I think it's a rocket launcher, one of the two. A grenade launcher, it doesn't matter. She blows up a bar barehanded with just an umbrella that has a fucking shield in it. This is basically, think of the most crazy penguin weapon you could think of from a maid. And she chases them to the ends of the earth to get back that person she's protecting. And then she gets the whole fucking movie to herself. So we find out she is like the most... she's hunted by the U.S. military because of things that she's done. She was a terrorist in a past life. And probably the worst kind of them. So you have Revi, this most insane of women. You have Balalaika, a military strategist and just deadly person with no sense of humor at all, unless she's killing somebody. And Roberta, who can kill anything with her bare hands and survive anything with her bare hands. But if she has a gun, fuck it, she'll do more damage. So all of that comes into coalescing into making this show just an interesting, dangerous mix of great people. Great people. That's all I'm going to say. It's a lot of great people. And it's not just them. Random people in Ruanapur looking to make a quick buck. Oh, I'll go stab a dude. Oh, I'll join your stupid band. I'll go hunt a guy. I'll go hunt a hacker. If you pay me enough, I'll burn down the city. So a bunch of fun-loving people just looking to drink and have fun. The other main female character is known as Edda. And she's not the leader of the church, but she is the main damage dealer. She is the second in command of what is known as the Ripoff Church. So, yes, they are a church, and they believe in church, but it is a front for smuggling weapons and other fine and dandy things. And usually Edda is just putzing around with Revi at a bar or hitting on Rock all the time. And it turns out she's her own nasty person when she needs to be. So she'll have a job or two for Lagoon Company herself. So all these intermingling ideas, all of these potential psychotic people, all having to do their own thing. So Lagoon Company is just in this shitty part of town, trying to make a quick buck, doing the dirtiest jobs possible. And it can go from stealing artwork from neo-Nazis. It can be messing up a thing for the cartel, or finding a hacker, protecting them from the entire city, trying to get the same bounty. It's protecting them from a Chinese lady who keeps going, motherfucker, all the time. It doesn't matter. Any crazy thing you could come up with in this kind of setting and show, they probably did it, and they probably did it while saying fuck over and over and over. One of my favorite parts was Roberta's blood trail. We've already established that Roberta kicks everybody's ass and held her own against Revi until Balalaika said fucking stop. So it took Balalaika, of all people, to calm those two people down. But we know Roberta don't take shit. And then we find out there's another one of them, a younger maid. So what does she do in this den of iniquity use? Okay, fun you might ask that. Her first thing is to mule kick a guy in the balls with a knife in her shoe. Fun. So yes, every cool thing you can think of, every swear word, every violent act, every beer swilling, drinking thing, all these boat battles, all these gun battles, all this crazy stuff. Is it any wonder I like this show? So all this crazy stuff for 26 episodes. And the cool thing is, you'll get some asides. You'll get Revi and Rock kind of coexisting by hating each other for an episode, having to do an odd job or two. You'll have the end of the show leading into Roberta's blood trail being a kind of like deal with a Yakuza member who ends up having to force herself to be the leader of a family, but Rock, being a member of Japanese society, says, no, don't do this. Try to live your own life, knowing that he himself has already been tainted, but he kind of wants back into his old humdrum life, but he's trying to force somebody else into it, but she doesn't have a choice. At the same time, those Yakuza members are in a coup d'etat, so Revi is involved, Balalaika is involved, Rock is involved with this Yakuza shit. So it's a good 4 or 5 episodes, just all this crazy stuff. So you get another set of episodes with these two like teenage kids who have basically been snuff film victims or warped and drugged and just turned into psycho murderers. So yeah, just loving it all around. I don't know how I'm gonna get away with this on YouTube, but anyway, you can kind of tell from the show's design and what I've said, there's a lot of guns. There's a lot of shootouts on boats and guns and boats and lots of guns. It's very pulpy, gritty action stuff. They're trying to make it almost like a Kill Bill sort of thing. Like a Tarantino movie. Those vibes. You know what you're getting into. A Guy Ritchie film. Something like that. You know what you're getting into when you're watching something like this. And again, you want girls with guns? You got guns. You want people just saying the F word all the time? You got people saying the F word all the time. Rock and Revy hold the show together because they're diametrically opposed to each other. And yet you have the subtle comedy thrown in because they're so opposites. Because all of these four main characters are such polar opposites of all four of each other. They try to coexist while still getting the job done. But there's these internal monologues that they have with each other. And then they deal with people like Etta and the Balalaika and fucking Roberta all the time. And it's like, well, how do you handle that? So you get to explore what are essentially these fucked up one-dimensional characters with guns, but because they have so much weight to them and because they're such polar opposites and because this show gives no fucks for subtlety, it is a romp. I go back to it every year or so, much like Bebop, and I laugh and I think, what am I watching? And can I get more of it? I love shows like this, especially the older I get, because it doesn't take punches. And it's so ridiculous and stupid with the way it does its thing. But it has so much panache and style. As gritty as it is, it goes full bore into the psycho murder stuff. And it is lovely. As if you couldn't tell from all the things I've said. But if you're looking for a show that doesn't give a fuck what you want it to be and just does its own thing and says, we got guns, we got girls with guns, we got girls with big titties, we got a city with girls with guns with big titties in them, we got beer, we got stuff, we got all this crap. You want a seedy show for 26 episodes in a movie? We got a seedy show with 26 episodes in a movie. So fuck you, strap in and go. It's that kind of show, and I love it to death. Because you don't get shows like this very often, and much less working to the extent that this one does. But that'll do it for me this week. I ran through this with a smile on my face, and it's so fun just talking about it. But yes, don't take my word for it. Watch it yourself. I guarantee it. Some of these shows I'm iffy on, but when you know that I'm into a thing, I will tell you it is for you. Every single person will like this. Or will be scared off because I said fuck every 5 seconds. But what do I care? It's my podcast. I can say whatever I want. But speaking of podcasts, next week, Final Fantasy IV. I will gush about Final Fantasy IV to death. I will not do so for Final Fantasy IV The After Years. But we will talk about both of them. I'll probably talk about Final Fantasy IV for 10 or 15 or 20 or even 30 minutes. Final Fantasy IV After Years, probably 15 seconds. It was a thing. But yes, I will talk about it, because that will lead us into the first year anniversary of these podcasts. I will post this on both my secondary channel, where these have been going, and my main channel. And it will be kind of a state of the channel address, alongside doing my strengths and weaknesses of shows that I'm watching and playing, games I'm playing, what I look for in games and anime, both as a content creator and just as a person, as a fan of them, kind of how I got into this thing and what changes I've made and whatever, and then what things irk me. But I will use it also as self-reflection, because there are things about myself that I do talk about, but I don't talk about all the time. But I think it would be a good way to kind of open the door a little bit, not too much. but at least give an understanding that I'm not perfect, and I have things that I have to work on as a person and, try and understand, especially the more public I get, because we have crossed 50 subscribers on my main channel, and that's not something I thought I would get, and especially since, my sub count has been growing more and more and more, especially over the last month or so. It's a sign that things that I've waited for have finally started working, and that I haven't fully lost touch with who I am. And I think that's a good way to frame that first year anniversary, because this is the first year anniversary of a channel. This is the first year anniversary of a podcast, but I can use it as like a 4-year rundown of what did I do when I started versus what do I do now as a content creator. So that's kind of where that will go. And then immediately following that, the following week will be Castlevania Aria and Dawn of Sorrow. Both are really good, and both of them are share very similar setups. I think one is better than the other, but there's still a lot to like about both, but I couldn't really justify doing a separate video for both, so we're both going to get a double bill, much like Final Fantasy and After Years. After that will be Spy X Family, Cour 1, and not Season 1. I've gotten used to the framing device as a season is like the 26 episodes, and a Cour is a first 13 episodes. Some are different, some are others, but I'll go with the naming convention that Spy X Family has used, and they're using Cour 1 to do the season that they just finished. I will, by the time, have watched the final 2 or 3 episodes of the season, and trust me when I say this, I have been in love with it. As a lot of people have. It's been considered the flagship of this current anime season for a reason. I normally don't get in on the newest thing. I'll watch a new show maybe 3 to 6 months after the fact. I'm in this Spy X Family thing. I even got a poster on my wall. I want to get a freaking Anya figure, or a Yor figure, or a Lloyd figure, or all 3. That sort of thing. It's just so good. It's not my favorite show, but it's one of those rare, I don't give out 9s. I don't do number scales, but I only give Cowboy Bebop a 10. I've only ever given Bebop a 10. Because to me, that's been my favorite show forever. It's not going to change. Whatever. Spy X Family is that rare 9 that goes with Madoka Magica, Black Lagoon, like I talked about this week, and a lot of other shows, Big O, Trigun, those number 9s that are just so damn good they grip you from start to end, or they did something at the end of it to just really grab you and will not let go. Spy X Family grabbed me from its premise, and its execution was on point. And again, I haven't seen the other 2 episodes or so of this first 13, or 12 or 13, but I do want to talk about them at length, because goddamn, I've enjoyed it. So that's going to be the setup for a while. It's going to be Final Fantasy IV, be the first year anniversary thing, Castlevania Aria and Dawn of Sorrow, and Spy X Family. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you next time. Citizen Strife, signing off.